First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Brittany. I am a trauma-informed life coach, and I am the co-CEO of She Vibes. Um, if you tuned into our last podcast, you know some of our background and why we're here. And we did drop some hints about the Medusa Project. It's something that it means a lot to every one of us. There is a special message behind the Medusa Project. I'm going to read that to you now, and then we'll get on to the topics of the episode. The why behind the Medusa Project is very simple. It exists because women in time have been taught to fear parts of themselves that were created to survive. For centuries, Medusa was remembered as a monster and not a woman who was harmed. Her pain was erased and her transformation was treated as something dangerous. That same pattern still shows up today for all of us. When women are blamed for how their trauma changes them, how we act, how we react to the actions, instead of being protected for what caused it. This project exists to tell the whole story. It's about naming that trauma does not make a woman broken or cruel. It makes her aware, guarded, and powerful in ways that the world often misunderstands. It's about reclaiming anger as information, not a flaw, and honoring the version of ourselves that learned to survive when no one came to save us. And why now? Because women are done staying quiet, and to stay quiet until it's palatable. Because conversations about trauma, consent, mental health, and power are finally being spoken out loud. But women still feel unseen inside them. Because we are at a moment where silence is no longer safety, and the truth is no longer something we're willing to bury. The Medusa Project exists now because women are ready to stop asking what is wrong with me and start asking what happened to me and what do I do with the strength that it gave me. This is not about rewriting a myth. It's about reclaiming ourselves. So that is the why behind the project and why it seems so powerful. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emily, and we are going to get into the Medusa Project.
Yes.
Whoop whoop. Y'all, I am so excited about this. This is good stuff. This is
Yeah.
So in school, we were taught kind of about Medusa, but y'all, listen. Snakes, stone, monster, like all this. We were taught that, she had snakes all in her head and she turned people to stone and she was this big monster. But what they didn't tell you about, what we didn't learn about, was what was missing from that, the real story behind that.
Yes.
Like,
You know,
right?
yes, right, Emily. But back in school, whenever I would hear about Medusa, I would always wonder, like, did something happen to her in order for her to turn men into stone? I always wondered that, but it felt like something was missing, like they weren't telling the whole story.
Right.
And it's crazy how they kind of kept that hidden for a very long time. And if you didn't do the research, then you would never know.
Well, why
And
should you do research? It's
right.
school.
That's how it was. Right. That's how it was handled. It was, you were taught Medusa was a monster. She is something to be feared, and let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Not going. And as children, why would we do any more research than that?
Exactly right.
Right, because we're children. We're supposed to be seen, not heard. We're not supposed to question authority. That's not what we do. That we just didn't do that.
Right.
Which that's why I'm excited about Medusa, because she embodied that very thing.
Yes,
Her humanity. That's what's missing. She was
yeah.
human. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
before all of that, y'all, the big picture is she was human.
she was immortal. A lot of people think that she was just automatically a Gorgon. She was a monster. She was not. She was born immortal. She was a very beautiful woman. From when you go back and do the research, that's a big part that people tend to miss out on. That she was not born that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And many of us aren't born the way we are.
Right.
Exactly. We're taught that way.
Yep.
We're conditioned to be a certain way.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her voice, that was also hidden.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They made her seem like she was just this monster and had nothing to say, and there was nothing behind what happened to her. Mm-hmm. But y'all, what happened to her? Like, oof, that's
yes.
some deep stuff.
They kind of hit her like I kind of compare her to the Cinderella story in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How they had her, in the kitchens, and she was the most beautifulest woman or the most beautifulest person there was around.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's important to note that even after she was turned into a Gorgon, she was the only one out of 3 or 4, I do believe, that was still mortal. So that
Hmm.
Three.
still
I think she had
embodied
three sisters.
her human soul, that her human heart. So it's like, the world can smite you as much as it can and come after you and over and over, but you hold on to your humanity, you hold on to who you are. It's still there regardless what happens.
Mm. So powerful. It's there no
Yeah.
matter what.
And that's
Hmm.
the thing, it's real easy for everybody to accept that Medusa was a monster. And, and that's how one of the reasons the Medusa Project exists, the anger that comes out after something traumatic happens, then we're the ones to blame for it. That's, why are you acting that way? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Hmm.
Why is Medusa a monster? Why is she, turning all these people to stone? You know, look at the bigger picture behind the story.
Yes.
She was punished and she was turned into a monster. But
Right.
why? I mean, that's the question that was never answered when we were taught the story about Medusa is why.
Why? Exactly.
So that is a big question. Why do we do that? Why,
Yes.
as women, do we do that? Why do we accept the harm? Why do we, live our lives knowing that we went through that? Like, it's not okay.
Hmm.
Right.
Right. And I think it comes to so it puts us in survival mode. I
Mm,
think that's what it kind of boils down to. Um, and I think that was kind of, Medusa's story a little bit as well. She went into survival mode, and as I can relate to Medusa in a way, the trauma that I went through growing up, I was in full survival mode. Yes.
and how much of that would come out in, aggression or something when you were trying to protect yourself?
Right, it would. A lot of it. Yeah, I would show out in school,
Hmm.
show it out at home when I normally wouldn't have if I hadn't went through what I went through. So,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some things happen when I was a young child that, I had to grow up faster. Not, I wasn't young, I was a teenager, but I had to grow up faster than normal.
mhm,
But it also kicked in some major protective instincts in me that I still have today. With my little sister, my mother, my nieces and nephews, that almost, they talk about a mama bear, but
mhm,
I think, I mean, in comparison, I will go into full fight mode.
yeah,
But my protection instinct kicked in so drastically, not just for myself, but for my family.
Like a Britneysaurus Rex.
She knows, she's seen it.
yeah, yeah,
But it's just automatic. I will take it I'll take it if it's coming directed towards me,
yeah,
but I will direct it back, and so it's the same concept. I don't know if anger would be the right word, but
yeah. I think there's a little bit of anger
I
there,
think, yeah.
and I'm quite sure Medusa was angered.
I bet she was.
How they handled the whole situation of you know what she went through.
Right.
And once I just really sat down and done some research on Medusa, I just could not believe what I was reading.
Well, I
Like,
remember that day when we talked about it. You didn't know
yeah,
much more
it
about
kind of tore me up on the inside because I knew my story was Medusa's story.
it. Right.
Yeah, so that it did, and it still tears me up now that we're talking about it because I
Right.
know the real story behind Medusa now.
And
But
that
Medusa,
I know when we first talked about it, you're like, well, I know what I heard in school, and
hmm,
and that's the thing. We accept the stories where women are the villains continuously. We
hmm,
just accept it for what it is. But when you dig deeper into that, there's always a why somewhere.
right,
Mhm.
You
And what I find interesting is that, they just because, she was this big villain, they figured that no harm could come to her, but the harm never disappeared. It was still there. It was
Mhm.
still very well inside of her, and it still, encompassed who she was. And, when you think about it, she wasn't a villain at all.
No,
At
it
all.
became her identity. I mean, and Jordan, what is that one thing that, we were always taught growing up? You are not, the disorders that you have there, that actually Jordan can say that one better than me.
Basically, that you are not what is quote unquote wrong with you. That is what you have. Like, I am not depressed. I have depression. And once you say it that way, it doesn't take over. You don't allow it to become your identity.
Right.
And that's what I meant by that. Medusa became her identity, but that's not who she started out to be.
Yep. Yep.
That's not, what her path was.
It does show in a way also that, us as women, not to make this a battle of sexes or anything like that, but Medusa's path was started by a man and was ended by a man. And
Mhm.
I think that men do tend to overshadow women as we are, not intentionally, but just because of how gender roles are perpetrated now these days. You know,
Mhm.
we forget the power that we have as women because we tend to be overshadowed.
Yes. Yes. And I think that the world has gotten, used to that.
Oh,
And
the overshadowing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think now is a good time for the Medusa Project, because it is time for a lot of women to reclaim themselves and find who they truly are.
Yes. I agree, Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And
So who is Medusa really?
that's a
Before,
Mm-hmm. Who is
it was,
she really? I know, like, we
who,
know the Medusa that we were taught about in school. We
right.
know about that. But when we get down to it, who is she really? Like, behind all the snakes and the stone and the harm and all of that, who is she?
She is a woman scorned.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
She's angry.
Medusa, yeah, but Medusa before all that happened to her, she was loving. She
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
she was pure. And
Yes. She was loyal. She served Athena in her temple. She was as a priestess.
mm-hmm.
All the good and pure things that, people think of, and like, but, this one act happened to her. And like Jordan said, she became angry. And, before that, she had beauty beyond compare from, the stories told.
Yes. So, Medusa, when it came to her boundaries, did she have any boundaries? Is that what, is that why they did this to her, or how did it come about to where these things happened to her?
On what happened with, on how she became a Gorgon,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
she was violated in Athena's temple by Poseidon.
Yeah.
And she had been very loyal to Athena. Um, and when that came out, Athena was angry. And now she wasn't angry at Poseidon for what happened, what he had done to Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
She was angry that it happened in the temple, and they felt she felt that her temple was desecrated, and she turned Medusa into a Gorgon.
Mm. Okay. 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 Gotcha.
So,
Mm.
I mean, I think one of the reasons, as Jordan said, that she was scorned, not only was she violated, she also was betrayed
Mm-hmm.
by somebody
Yeah.
that she was very loyal to.
Yes. So, what's his name?
Poseidon.
Poseidon.
Mhm.
So, I know she was the most beautiful woman there. Is that what um, made him do this, or was he just that type of man? Or
Jordan had actually found something on that. Do you want to read it, Jordan?
Yeah, Jordan, because I definitely want to hear that part.
Sorry,
She
I
just
lost the Zoom. Which part?
about why Poseidon violated Medusa. Did it ever say why?
I don't think it did. I haven't read anything about why. I
Why?
think it was just
I think it
because.
was, yeah, just because he could. You're muted, Jordan.
Yeah, so it was more so him being that kind of man to where he just thought he was entitled.
Yeah, yeah. Poseidon was the god of the sea, and Athena was a goddess. And where did she have that at? She said it to me because Medusa was a virgin
Hmm. And she
before
swore to
this.
always be a virgin.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was basically he pulled that because I can.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It was out of spite. Basically, Poseidon had continued to try to seduce Medusa, and she continuously turned him down. And so, the because of her support and her worship of Athena, he did it out of spite in her temple.
Oh,
And
And
of
wow.
so,
course, and of course, Medusa got the blame for it because
yeah,
it was her fault because, she did everything wrong, quote
right,
unquote.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And that is just so many women's story out here, um,
exactly.
in this time, in the current days. I know it was mine for a long time. And so I think we're going to wrap this one up. And we will be back with Medusa, another episode of Medusa Punished for Surviving.
Hmm.
So if y'all feeling the Medusa, then y'all come back and y'all sit with She Vibes.